So
Exactly.
yeah, independence, I guess. Yeah.
Okay, so independence, all right. Candy, what do you love about singleness? Tell me, or some things that you
Yeah,
love about it. What?
I love it. I've loved being single. I mean, in many many ways. There's only like one way I haven't loved it, which is when you realize you're alone. Those moments, but every other time it's like it's given
So
me the
yeah,
opportunity to
independence,
just
I
do
guess. Yeah.
so many
Okay,
things that
so
I love
independence, all right.
without
Candy,
having
what do you
this,
love about
to
singleness?
figure it
Tell me,
out
or
with
some
another
things that you
person.
love.
Um,
I
for
love it.
me, I never really wanted to be married young. That's just, I don't know why. I just was like, after university, I had no dreams of getting married anytime soon. I wanted to travel the world, work, have a wonderful career of my own. And that's what singleness has afforded me. So it's like a freedom and a flexibility and control of like, okay, I want to do this, I don't want to do this. And but as time went on and I realized, okay, I'm now in a place where I would be open to settling down. It wasn't quite God's time. So I realized that means there's more for me to be doing as a single person. There's more in that season I'm supposed to be doing in building. And I've been very intentional with my singleness so that I'm using it to build the kingdom, like whatever it is God wants me to be doing, whether it's a business, whether it's being there for other people. Like I realize what a gift it actually is. It's not a bad state to be in. There's beauty in it. I always tell people like singleness is not like a sickness. People kind of at some point start to feel bad for you, but there's nothing to feel bad about. Feel bad for me if I'm sick, not
Yeah.
because I'm single. I'm single. I'm running. I'm doing what I want. Like that's not something to feel bad about for me. But there are moments for sure where you kind of you feel lonely. You wish you were with someone. The holidays are really that time when for me it's like, wow, oh, I'm single.
When they are
you know
playing all those songs, all I want,
no,
all
everybody's going to
Christmas
Christmas. Yeah, yeah.
you.
All your
It's
siblings.
raining outside.
Yeah,
All
yeah,
that song, you know?
all of that. You're like,
Yeah.
oh, I have no one to go see the tree lighting, and you go home for Christmas. You find your siblings with their spouses. You're just there, like, I am single. Wow. So yeah, there's some hard
When they are
moments, but I
all
think
those songs,
in
all I
every
want,
season of
all
life, every chapter, there's
Christmas
probably some hard
you.
moments. When you're married, I'm sure there are times
Raining
when you're like,
outside. All that song, you know?
maybe I wish I was out there
Yeah.
free. So I just feel like that just comes with the season, that chapter, I should say, of life. You just maybe you can't have it all at once. So you enjoy the parts that you can enjoy, knowing that in the future you'll have that. God is going to fulfill that promise. You're going to be married and you're going to be like, wow, it's good I did this when I was single. I did my master's. I did my this, that.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah.
very good, very good. And I love the way you are looking at it. You talked about singleness is not a disease. We are all believers in Jesus Christ. He was a single man. My hero in the Bible, apart from Jesus, is Paul. He was a single man. We have a lot of people like that that we look up to. We have single women in the Bible, that we look up to, we read. So it's not a disease. So it is it's something real, something great. And I love, what you also, spoke about the reality of sometimes you feel it, you feel that, and we're going to get to that in my next question, like, oh yeah, I'm single and all that, but it's an advantage. You talked about season. You're able to do certain things, get it done, without having to deal with the responsibility of another person.
So today I'm probably gonna, expose myself a little, and share things that some people have never, but I mean, they're valuable things that I consider, that have really helped me as an individual.
Mhm.
But in regards to the question, so yeah, this is interesting. So, but as regards the question,
What do you love about your
what
singleness?
I love about it, one of it is realizing that it's an opportunity.
Mm,
It's an opportunity. People get into marriage sometimes before they realize that really being a single is an opportunity. Then they start telling singles, hey, enjoy it, take advantage of it. But to know it as a single person is a gift, you know, just that realization, and to know it while you are still a single person. That's one. Number two is giving me the opportunity to focus on things that matters a lot to me, to be occupied. Some of my friends used to like tap me and say, "Success, think about this matter," because they're like, the way you get involved with your things sometimes, like you don't think about these things, you know. So but that can only happen when you are actually a single person, and that's an opportunity. That's a part of the beauty of the process, you know. And then number three is building relationships. People get married and um they become inaccessible. It becomes very difficult to even have them as the kind of friends you used to have them before. But you know, I mean, some still you're still able to have that kind of relationship and all of that. But as a single person, you're able to build credible relationship. People are able to know you. You're able to know people. And build the kind of relationship you're able to process relationships, you know, that are for life, that are for a season, that are for just a time, a moment. You know, you're able to know all of this. You do spend time on this, and people to check people's character and all that, and also to really understand myself. You know, I think that's an important part, which is also even a gift to whomever I'll be with tomorrow. Just understanding who I am, understanding the intricacies of my person, and that takes time. That takes time. You don't even learn that on that so much of excitement. You allow time to process you into understanding who you are. Sometimes you make mistakes. Sometimes you torn in shreds in different places. And all of that is to uncover your proclivities and your strengths and all of that.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
Okay.
those are some of the
Thank
things
you
I would
very
say I
much.
really appreciate.
Very,
Yeah.
very good. Thank you. So opportunities, you see opportunities there.
Mhm.
Ebony saw independence. Kendi, you also saw opportunity, and you also saw, you know, like in, you know, your routine, being able to, you know, maintain the pattern of your life. I think we have Dami back. Dami, if you are able to come in, can you answer, you know, my first question and second question very quickly, if you can? So my second question is, what do you love about your singleness? What's great about your singleness? My first question is, are you looking forward to getting married, or what's your view? What's your feeling about marriage?
Yeah, thank you so much for the opportunity. Can you hear me, please?
Yes, can you bring it closer? We can hear you, but not as loud as it could be. Like you
Okay,
were loud.
I'm going to try to speak a little louder. How about this?
Okay, good.
So thank you so much for the opportunity. Yeah, I am looking to get married. And yeah, marriage is important for me. I would love to have a big family.
Okay. So what do you love about your singleness? If you do. Okay, I think we're having some problem with his audio, so we will move on. All right, so Pastor Olu will help us look into that. All right, so let's move on. So singleness. So then my next question to you guys is this. What do you hate about your singleness? What is it that you don't like about it? Who wants to go first? Volunteer. What do you hate about your singleness? Oh,
Okay,
you know, you dislike.
Yeah, I think you lost me for a moment.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I'll be honest.
Yeah, I think, you know, we have to sort that video out. So we have to sort that out. Let me, yep, we'll sort that out. So let's go on. All right, so my next question, my question to you guys, what is it that you dislike, or you are not, you know, you're not a fan of when it comes to singleness?
Hello?
We can hear you. Yeah, let's fix that. Let's fix that. We're going to fix that. Let me see what I can do to get that off. Sorry, we're having some technical, difficulties here. All right, go ahead. Who wants to go on the question? Yes, Ebony, go ahead.
Okay. Well, two things that come to mind. One is sometimes when my married friends, they just are feeling like all of a sudden they can't relate to me because I'm not married. Like there's this divide, like, so that's a little frustrating. And I really pray that I want to embrace everybody in whatever stage they're in. And then secondly, as a single, I'm celibate. So that is a challenge, like just struggling with lust and things like that, but just wanting to honor God in that way. So, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks for being real about that. But, don't necessarily call it lust, it's a natural desire.
It's natural.
And all that. You get what I'm saying? It's, it's natural. It's, you just have to manage it, not manage it well. Yeah. So thanks for sharing that. Who wants to go next? Success.
I think it's hard for me to figure out what exactly I hate. That's been personal, but I think for me would be just realizing that you can't rush some things, and also realizing that some things look so good, but they are not for you. And knowing that.
Can you explain that further? What are, like what looks so good, like food?
That all that glitters is not gold, that diamonds can be found in rough places. But just knowing that, it's one of those things in life. I mean, in terms of crossing over to the other side now, is one of those things in life that you cannot go emotionally, which is against the trend. The trend says, "Oh man, I feel it." All of that. It's sweeping you off your feet, kind of thing. But in the real sense, it's probably different for people, but based on where I'm coming from, the kind of pastors I have had, sometimes I think something and I hear their voices. I hear Pastor Ezekiel's voices in my head. I hear Pastor Sam's voice in my head, and they are very big on these issues, right? And for me, that's a gift, but again, that imposes constraints on my excesses, which is the gift in itself, So I would say those are two things that I think this season doesn't. You're free to do you're free to eat all the fruits in the garden, but you cannot touch the one that has of the knowledge of good and evil, So so there are constraints in the process, but at the same time, certain things take time.
Yeah,
they take time.
I'm sure the married people, when they come up, they will tell you that does not change. Even when you are married, the tree is still in the garden. There are trees in the garden that you must not touch. So that doesn't change. Candy, go ahead.
What do I hate about being single? Sometimes it's really, I think Success said it in a very deep way, but it's like just not knowing when when the season is gonna end. It's like, okay, I'm in the season, I'm doing my thing, but like, when is the season ending? Is it in a year? Is it in 5 years? Like, it gets to a point where you kind of really wish you knew, and just again, like being around things like going to weddings, and there's like certain things markers that force it in your face, like you don't have this. So you're happy for other people, of course, but you wonder, wow, when is my day coming? Like, when can I graduate, as you called it once, Pastor Len? to another chapter. So that can be very frustrating. When people call it out, I hate that, you know, or again, like people try to make you feel less than, you know, being an African woman, it's very difficult once you get in your 30s and you're single. You have a lot of unsolicited comments coming your way. People asking a lot of questions, wondering what's wrong with you. Are you refusing? You know, why are you being difficult? Like, and you're not even putting your business out there. They're just giving you their general feedback and like, you know, thoughts. And that's when it's like, oh, I just wish I was out of this season so I don't have to deal with these comments. Also, they don't, the African community, they don't always acknowledge your work as a woman. What matters is, are you married and do you have children? So what? You have a PhD, you have 10 PhDs. Nobody cares.
Yeah.
It's just a cover up for the fact that you're not married and you don't have kids. So, and it's like, I've had women even tell me, you know, you're doing too much. You're doing too much. You're going there, you're buying a house, you have your own car. You know, what message are you trying to send, guys? And I'm like, should I just sit here, like live at home, you know? So those are the times I'm like, oh, I just hate that these conversations year after year, you know, or I should say comments are still coming my way. So I have to stop and like tell myself, just remember, all that matters is what God has planned for you and what he thinks of you. Other people, they're going to make comments. There's nothing you can do. Don't internalize it. Don't feel bad based on, you know, you don't know what they're projecting on you that they missed out on. Now they want you to feel bad. So I have to like send that back to the sender, return to sender, those comments, and not accept them. That's been challenging over the years.
If I may add something.
Yes.
I just thought about something while she was talking, and it's the fact that you can't afford, it's one of those places you can't afford to compare yourself with other people. That you have your own path, that you're being worked on, whether you know it or not, whether you agree with it or not. And that's a difficult place to be when different kind of things are happening around you and in you and in your life, you know. And that is also there. It takes certain level of comfortability, you know, certain level of really understanding who you are and being proud of where you are and being comfortable about the future that you have, and having some level of capacity to quiet your ears from what people are saying and what you see, and not be overly carried away by by the razzmatazz or by the by what you see in people, no matter how good it is, that is making you feel like, oh, that side is where I really need to be. You know, like just being confident and excited about what you have with you and all of that. And of course, there are days when that is very painful, challenging, and all of that. But being patient and trying to walk through that as much as possible with your support system and God and all of that. So, yeah.
Very good. Thank you. I want to ask programming note, please, those who are watching us on Facebook or any media, please share the video. I can see some conversations going on there. Share the videos so that more people can join this. So I want us to talk, you know, lastly, like for this round, the dating scene. So when we were, you know, single, there was no internet, there was not much this thing existed. You have to find your wife, you know, like you're right away. And then you go and meet the person and talk.
Yeah.
You know.
Send letters.
So I just have some, you know, because it's been a long time for me. You know, last time I was single was 27 years ago or so. So the world has changed a lot. Well, 27 years ago before I, you know, met my wife and all that, but I got married about, you know, going to be 20 years. But when we started going out, so I left the market, right? You know, 27 years ago. But, you know, I want to ask, why is it difficult for people to find why has it been difficult for people? I just want to know for singles, because I pastor people in different places. I'm not just in America. I hear it in Nigeria, I hear it everywhere. Why is it difficult for people to find good guys or good ladies now? What's the dating, all this thing? What is it like? What, tell us about it. What's the issue?
Oh my gosh, it's crazy, Pastor Land. It's a crazy new world.
Tell us
Part
about
of it. It's a disaster in a way. It's a disaster. I think the world has been overtaken by shallowness, unrealistic expectations, and we get this subconsciously through society, movies we watch, social media, conversations, things you're seeing happening, and you naturally start to have these like very, perhaps insane standards in your head. A lot of men, they see women on social media and TV, everything very, put together and airbrushed. And of course, women, we also know our tricks to edit our pictures and all that. So
you meet the woman. Oh, you guys
it's not, everything's edited. You guys, I don't even know.
I didn't know that.
So when you meet the lady, it's like how, you want her to live up to that standard that's already there, that's not even real. And it becomes difficult. So I think there's some of that going on that makes it very hard, but at the same time, we live in the best time ever where you can meet someone across the world, through technology. And you're seeing so many people getting married because they met online, and that wouldn't have been possible many years ago. So I really think like God can use anything. I tell you. But there've just been a lot of challenges, I think, with with the media, different medias, and the way women and men are portrayed, and it gets increasingly worse every year. From in my opinion, now you see black couple goals, love couple goals. How is that even a goal? And then let's say you're a Christian, you're trying to follow Christian goals, like, and you're looking for couples that emulate that, and you're probably seeing maybe fewer and fewer of those, and more of couples that are living a kind of like a life where maybe you're not seeing the full story. You're only seeing the sunny days, the sunshine, and you're finding that you want something that is someone else's best day. You want that to be your everyday. You're not seeing the arguments, the fights, everything that goes on, because it appears that every day they're happy and everything's going well. And then that's again where expectations come in, and then expectations lead to disappointment when you yourself meet someone and they're not living up to some crazy expectations you have in your mind that you may not even be aware you have adopted and really bought into. So that's the bad side. And again, the good side is technology has kind of helped people come together.
Okay. Yeah. Awesome. Thank you. Ebony?
I think it can be rough, but I think it kind of depends on the person, because my mindset God shifted my mindset. So then I just was like looking for different things. When I was living more in the world, my expectations were off, my desires were off. So that's why I think I was settling and attracting people that I shouldn't have been with. So once I started like refocusing on God and what would be good for me, things changed. So I don't think it has to be hard to find someone. It kind of depends on you, in my opinion, anyway.
No. And I think Ebony is right. That is exactly what I did too. I had to step out of that. I had to come to a realization that these things are bad for me. It's poison. These are the wrong fruits of the tree. And do my own, ask God to transform my mind, which is a very hard thing when you're an adult. It's like, but he can. And it was a process. And I too got out of being single, thank God. And I'm now engaged, and I thank God. But the way it happened was really a series of things that I had to do to get out of my own head and to start breaking down those thoughts and beliefs that had, built a home inside of me.
Okay. What do you guys, still talking to the ladies, I'll get to you, Success, in a moment, and then we're going to round up this segment. What do you guys feel is wrong with guys nowadays?
That's the land. You're dropping bombs here. What?
Yep.
What is wrong with guys these days?
Yes.
Ooh, I think it's some of it is, again, they have unrealistic expectations of women. They want the woman who's a supermodel at all times and is doing great in her career and is a master chef and always sexy in high heels. Yeah, they want too much, you know. What they don't want is that woman with the scarf at night, you know, that sometimes is moody because she's got a lot of things going on. It's not everything is peachy. She's got a boss that's, you know, giving her a hard time, and you know, she's trying to balance a lot of things. She's trying to be there for a lot of people, and she just sometimes runs out of steam. They don't want to see that at times. They want to just see this like version of a woman that is just perfect at all times. And that leads to, you know, disappointment when they start to see, wow, she's just a human. What? You know, so I think sometimes it's that disappointment maybe that makes a guy who's been pursuing a woman and then he finally gets her, then he starts to see, you know, the human side of her and this maybe even softer side, and he just feels like, let me go get another one that looks shiny and new. That's what I remember from a few years ago. It's like I noticed the trend. Also the way society is kind of setting some things up, like let's say you're doing online dating, there's a way they set it up that makes women feel like, you know, they're just in a meat market, just swiping. Let's say it's an app. You just swipe. You're just only looking at the woman for her looks. That's it. And you pick her just based on that. And, you know, I think if a man changes his mindset and looks at a woman as an asset, a woman can come into his life, help him build his life, build it out, be business partners, be awesome life partners, help each other out in every way. Like he'll start to look at different things and move away from just like those shallow, simple things and look far deeper into finding a life partner. But I don't want to say anything horrible about men. It's just sometimes I notice that there's that, you know, they're just kind of stuck on the shallow stuff.
Thank you. Ebony?
Yeah, I think I want more men to look at their hearts and get healed from things from the past, like from childhood or things that have happened, because then that will change how they love everyone and that will enhance their relationship. So yeah, that's what I look for. Men that can really, go deep within themselves, get healing, have a relationship with God, and then everything comes out of that. So
and that whole part about, you know, the last thing Ebony said about relationship with God is like, so many women are looking for a man that's a leader, you know, but the men are not coming out as leaders. They're not necessarily leading with that, you know? So women are like, am I going to get in this thing and be the leader? I'm already leading everything in my life. Seems like this relationship is going to be one more thing where I have to take the wheel, and this balance is not there. And I think like a lot of women, you know, we've seen our parents like from a different generation. There's a way that roles were set up, like gender roles, and oftentimes like back in the day, it's like the man had a lot of leadership roles. Nowadays, a lot of guys don't really want to be that. It's too much for them. They want to be.
I didn't know that. You know?
Oh no, Pastor, where you been? Girl, you talking about guys who grew up with Nintendo?
I'm old-fashioned, you know.
PlayStation guys, what are you talking about? They when something breaks in the house, they just call 1-800 something. You know, my dad can never do that. He'll break it worse. Then my mom will call 1-800, but my dad was gonna try and do what he could to fix, you know, things. So you grow up seeing that, and then you meet someone like that's not really the case anymore. Oftentimes. So that's kind of been difficult, but it's just a result of like the upbringing nowadays of so many people. It's like I was from, you know, the 80s, and like there's a way myself I saw, and my cousins and all those were kind of babied. And I grew up in Kenya, so and here I know it was the same thing. A lot of my friends, a little bit babied. We didn't have to struggle as hard. Like the parents kind of wanted you to have a better life than they had. He had a lot of responsibilities in the farm from a very young age, and ended up being a professor. So, but his first years were very difficult. You know, this classic story, African parents had to walk how many miles to school every day. It was rough, and he didn't, of course, want us to have that. So there's been a softness that's happened, and I think sometimes that also makes it hard. Now when you're ready to get married, women are looking for a guy like our dad, men are looking for a woman like their mother who can do it all, and it's like, we're all so soft, you know, we're not really both able to do that.
And who knows if they would evaluate their past, like if they didn't have a strong dad, like dad figure, then how will they you know, walk in that too? So yeah.
Awesome. So success, you are the defender of the men now. Somebody is already, you know, Facebook is actually
he's writing notes. He's like, I'm coming back.
So Facebook, people are commenting on Facebook and all that. Somebody said women have unrealistic expectations too. It's both sides.
Oh yeah.
Success, what do you have to say to my question and what they've been saying?
So your first question was, let me show I'm answering the question. And again, Pastor Land, this is seriously putting me on the spot.
Yes.
Again, my answers are very personal. It might be very different for other people. And so why aren't people, right? The question was meeting people or meeting them, you know. This is serious.
The dating scene and all this stuff. Yeah.
Right.
Why is it difficult? Yeah.
One is experiences. Some parents, some people have been burnt. And so it's just like a kid gets to.
Wow, we have Dami now, and we have his video. Also.
I'm glad I have a supporter.
I'm definitely.
All right. You know, some people they've had experiences, they've been burnt, and so you know, like a kid who places their hand on fire for the first time, they don't want to do that, and that can impede even progress in such directions. And number two is people knowing themselves. Again, like we said, really knowing yourself takes time. You know, I've even heard comedians joke about it, that the expectation when a lady or a guy is 20 is different when it's 21, when it's even 25 or 30, you know, and all of that. And somewhere along that line, you get to a point where you probably finally learn a lesson. Some people never do, as to what you really need against what you want. As to separating fantasies from realities and stuff like that. So time also plays into that. And some people, because they haven't encountered probably an experience that helps them realize that and see, hey, you probably haven't really thought about this. This is why this had been the narrative. May not necessarily have a shift in the ideology or even in the approach that they give to things. And then number three is some people haven't really had appropriate models in their lives, just like, I don't know, was it Ebony who mentioned that? And that's a serious thing, you know, someone who there are some men that actually can't be blamed technically for their kind of actions, even though they are responsible for their actions. They haven't really had it. And of course, meeting, if I'm a lady and I meet someone who haven't really had that kind of model in their life, I have to take that into cognizance. I have to know that I have to find a way either to meet that obligation or provide for that deficiency, and vice versa. You know, we all have these gaps in us, knowing that there are areas of us where we're deficient. But when people sometimes meet, they don't put that into context. And so the gaps that has begins to play into the process of their relationship and stuff like that.
Okay.
And then Yeah, I think, and then another one is values. I think that's the last one I will stop in, except maybe for the other question. But values, when I mean values now, I mean like, again, I'm speaking for me, right? When I meet with, say, the lady and all of that, part of what comes to my mind is I want to treat this person like this is the value I've lived with for a long time. I want to treat this person as the kind of treatment I would like my sister to have. I don't want to hurt this person, even if this person. That's why, yeah, I think because of that principle, I've not really had so much of unnecessary dating experiences. In fact, I used to tell myself long time ago, I say it's not a girlfriend I need a wife. Okay. So until I see what reflects that, I don't think I want to play around. I want to be like, I don't want to play around it as if it is it when I know it is not. If I feel like if I see something that doesn't, I have to quickly try to address it so that I don't put myself into a situation where I'm complicating somebody's life and I'm also complicating my life. I mean, my mind, it's an important part of me. I need it for a lot of things. Yeah. So that's for me again. That is for me, right? So those are value systems and for some other people, some other people's values could be, man, it could be as childish as competing with their friends over somebody. That's some people's level of thinking. And yeah, let me hold it there.
Thank you. Let me get Dami in, and then we will end this segment. We're going to bring the married in, and then we'll bring both of you together, married and single. After that, Dami, you have a bunch to say to what we have been saying. So, fire.
Yeah, I hope I'm able to fill the gap. Where would you like me to start?
Feel free. Start from where you feel is you want to start.
As the spirit leads you.
Yeah.
So, regarding what it is like to date these days, my answer is going to be very subjective, but at the same time, I'm going to be very grounded. I'm going to bring everyone's attention to the fact that we live in a very fast-paced world right now, and we only get to slow down when we choose to slow down, right? So when it comes to dating has had to adopt a new system these days, and a lot of people don't have the patience to actually date, to court, right? People also move with the flow. You've got work, you've got life, you've got all of these other things that are just going to keep pulling your attention. It takes a lot of effort to take time to build a relationship with someone you're interested in. And most people go into relationships, even now in this day and age, when they know that not everything is realistic, they go in there with some standard. I would not say unrealistic standards. I would just call it standards. And as you know, when it comes to your own standard, you cannot always project your standard on people. It's almost like expecting something from a person when you don't expect them to operate the way you do, right? So dating has been quite interesting. Without going around the bush, I want to say one small thing. It's really important for you to take your time out now and in the future to just get to know your partner, regardless of how little or insignificant your relationship might be. And that's it. That's what dating has been these days. I did hear a couple of say about online dating. Online dating it's exactly what it has been even before online dating. You meet a person, they either like you or they don't. It's all based on attraction. People operate on what you're attracted to. A lot of people have this misconception that only guys respond to the physical, but women also respond to that. There've been social experiments, experiments done in neuroscience that demonstrate that women, both men and women, are attracted to some physical attributes. You see, a lady won't walk into a room saying she's interested in me if she didn't like the way I appeared. Or if the way I appeared didn't tell us something about what I might represent in the society. So let us not sway or try to digress important facets of this discussion, just so we can seem like, okay, we're defending what it means to be masculine or feminine. So it's quite an interesting discourse, this entire thing we've been having. And I'll be sitting back saying, oh wait, I wish I could chime in, but yeah, there's lots to unpack.
So what do you think is wrong with the ladies these days? So I can be balanced.
Ladies, there is absolutely nothing wrong with you. Just like you think there is, as a matter of fact, I'm actually happy that you say there is something wrong with men, but because then you give me an insight into how you think and how you process things. There is nothing wrong with you. It's good to have all of these expectations. It's good to expect your man to be this way, to be a bit more masculine, to be the leader, to be, you see, all of these things, those are societal norms. And they're also there in the Bible. You know, the Bible doesn't present men as followers, it present men as leaders. They're just all of these things that you want and you expect of a man, that I think if you let go of, right? And you start from the very basics, which is attraction, like I mentioned earlier, start from there. It will be a lot more easier for you to start to build something. Start from getting attracted to a person, start from seeing if you guys are compatible on some level, if you have mutual interest. And you guys should learn to build a good communication. You know, with good communication, a lot of things can easily be resolved. Don't try to point fingers. One of the things I learned about building relationships is you don't accuse people. When you accuse people, people become apprehensive of you. So don't say there's something wrong with men. You're making men worry that there might be something wrong with the relationship they might want to have with you. So
that's a Pastellan is dropping
the one that
bombs.
asked the question.
That's
Don't
like
worry.
yeah, this is a loaded.
I think I want to say a few things to that.
All right, so
Can I say,
so let's round it up. You know,
as regards that, but again, this is not against the ladies. I mean, we are going to get married, so so that this is not used against us in the court of law. I think one thing to think about is are they willing to be led? Because it's one thing to say you want someone to lead you, is one thing to be really ready to be led. I mean, the men have, if you go read Ephesians 5, read the Message version. It's a very, very intense stuff. Especially when you start thinking about the role of a man in a family, it's scary. Where if people would have to, if men really would do those things that Ephesians 5 says, you know, I used to think women have a lot to do. When I saw what men literally have to die every day, they have to die.
Yeah.
Okay, they have to die every day. They have to die. That's the point. They have to die for whoever it is. That's one. The number two is number two is maturity. You know, maturity. Are you matured? You know, how do you carry yourself? How do you see yourself? How do you display yourself? What are you displaying? What are you expressing? You know, what are you communicating? Non-verbally. You know, when you're in the midst of people, what is the perception? You know, in marketing, they say product positioning, right? Product positioning. Yeah. When you're positioned, what are the people's perception about you in the space where you're in? You know, those are things that, especially the women, because the men may not say it, but it's the perception they gather before they make decisions or even intentions about people. Yeah. Right. I mean, serious-minded men now, so to speak, may not be. Some people may not really care about that.
Well, thank you, Success. Let's hold it because of time.
All right.
The conversation is to be continued. So we're gonna quickly watch something while we shift to the marriage. Let's start with the Davids. Well, there are two Davids, right? well, the West. So when I say the West, I'm talking about David West family. So the Davids. What was going on in your mind as they were talking?
Well, glad to be here. What was going on was just the seasons. The seasons, the different concerns. I was thinking back to when I was single, and then I was single twice. So I was single before my first in my former life, I call it. And then there was a period of about 10 years, in which I was glad because I rediscovered singleness according to God's way. And I got healed and, and really prepared to do it with God's principles. So I thought about the advantages, and, there were some difficult moments when I was single that I wished I was married, but I thank God for his timing and for his selection.
Awesome. Thank you. What were you guys thinking? Any other couple? David's?
Yeah, I just want to thank all the singles for their openness and honesty. It was a very, very interesting discussion. And, it just brings back some memories also, your fears before you get married as a man, losing your independence. Oh, I can just wake up one day, I want to travel anywhere. Nobody's asking any questions. So, and you're kind of thinking about it. Those are some of the, at least, freedom you're going to be losing when you get married. And it's true. You can't just wake up now and say, hey, I'm going anywhere. They'll ask you, hey, somebody's in the house, where are you going?
All right.
So it's a very valid and a very good question. I love their openness. They're talking about it. And at least, and even when they kind of dabble into the aspect of expectation, which is very, very, very important. So, and at least it's always happening, people will have unrealistic expectation and people will have realistic expectation. And that is why the place of counseling, premarital counseling before marriage, kind of try to balance that. So it's like, hey, those expectations, you have to kind of come back here and look at some things. So it was a very great discussion section.
Okay, thank you. Now, Shola and Megan, I want to hear the ladies' perspective. What did you think of what the singles were saying?
Okay. Yeah, I think I just relate a lot to everything they said. I mean, it wasn't that long ago that I was single, so I, just over a year. But yeah, I mean, like you feel like there's this societal expectation for a woman to be married by a certain age that I think, yes, there's some of that with men, but I'm just going to put it out there that it's not as hard for men in their 30s to say, like, I'm single. There's not this like pressure, especially the time, or what is it? The time bomb of the, womb of like having a baby by a certain time.
Biological clock,
Yeah, thank you. Biological clock. This is what parenthood has done to me.
Yeah. Okay, Shola.
I think I can relate a lot to what the single said. I think there is a lot of unrealistic expectations when it comes to marriage. And I think it always ends up being not really, when you're finding yourself. Number two, you don't really know, you don't have enough information about what marriage is really about and what it entails. And you have, I want to say, a fantasy of what it should be rather than what God intends it to be. So I related a lot with some of their fears, some of their, talks about expectations, especially with being a woman too, as you're getting older, your biological clock ticking, all those things are definitely, I think it's a lot of societal pressures. It shouldn't be pressures that that a woman takes on to make too much of a quick decision to get married, but some people do, and then they end up regretting it. But I think a lot of it is just based off of really not knowing what comes with marriage and not knowing what God intends marriage to be. And then also too, sometimes we have individuals around us that we see their marriage and we expect our marriage to be like that too. And that's not the case, because you're your own individual person and your future mate is going to be his own individual
person. And you don't even know what's happening in those people's lives. You're just seeing them on the outside. So
exactly. So there's a lot of fluff out there that people don't realize it is fluff until they get into it, and then their eyes are wide open. So I think it's just, really asking God for divine wisdom to really open you up to being flexible and being trainable, because marriage will train you for sure. But yeah, I definitely agree with a lot of what everybody.
You know, I hate that thing. I hate this phrase. I'm not against anyone. I hate that thing. Relationship goals. Hashtag.
Oh yeah.
I hate that thing. I see it. The relationship goals. Some people have put it. They've put it on my home. They see my wife and I on Facebook. They'll say relationship goal. I'm like, guy, be careful what you wish for.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I agree.
Let Jesus Christ and the Father. Jesus and the Father be your relationship goals. Your relationship goal. I'm not saying we have a great marriage, we have all that, but it's not perfect.
Right.
And it's not yours. Do you get what I'm saying? It's not yours. We should have role model people we look up to, but just be careful. Do you get what I'm saying? But sometimes all those relationship goals stuff, I'm like, you don't know. Okay, good. Let me ask this question. What, they were talking about unrealistic expectations and all this stuff, because singles are watching, married are watching and all that. What are the biggest joys of marriage for you personally, from your own personal experience, and what were your disappointments when you got into marriage? What expectations were disappointed? What were your joys, the things that, wow, this is great? And what were some of the expectations that were disappointed? Ramonica?
For me, being married to David, just having him take out the garbage was a big plus. Because in my former life, my ex-husband, he would not take out garbage. It was crazy. I would put garbage in his car to make him take out the garbage. And then, so that was huge for me. So seriously, the joys, just being able to share, and David gets it. As far as honoring and respecting, he just totally gets it. And it is reciprocal. For me, it was very reciprocal. The pitfalls, the joys, what was that? I'm sorry, Pastor, what was the other half of that question?
The disappointment, like, expectations that you had. I know you were, because I did your premarital counseling, I could see that you guys, your expectations were not, wild and AY. You guys had seen life. You were just, very evil. But wait, did you probably met some disappointments?
Disappointments.
Former life.
Oh, in my former life?
No. When you got into marriage, and you, started living with David and all that. This is just for the singles.
Yes,
what are some of
the
the things that you just discovered that didn't meet your expectations? If you want to share that. If you are thinking about it, somebody else can go ahead.
Yeah, I have to think about that one.
Yes, Pastor Emily.
So the joys, being able to be vulnerable, being able to just express myself and not be judged. The fact that he's, a man of God. So those were the joys. Just, he's still the same person, just in terms of like his authenticity, his sincereness. Like he's still that same person that he was, when we met. So that hasn't changed.
Okay.
The expectations.
Yes. Shaku said,
I have some. I can't think of it off the top like I probably would have pre-Michaela. I think with a baby, just shifted. But I know I had a lot. But maybe, one thing I expected was that he was going to help me with my timeliness, because I used to be someone who wasn't on time, and I thought he was going to be able to help me with that because I thought he was on time for things. So that would sometimes be an argument for us because, I was expecting that to happen and it didn't. What are some other things? You probably...
Okay, let's go to Muiwa and Ugos, So what are the joys of marriage, and what are some things that just, you're like, wow, I didn't know it was like this. I expected something else, Muiwa.
Okay, for me, anybody that knows me, they know I love food. I like to eat. So before we got married, my wife is a chef.
Yeah.
You know, so that was one of the things coming into the marriage that I really enjoyed. Like, if I get back from work, there's food in the fridge for me to heat up to go eat. I eat good, you know. So she cooks, and you know, that's one of the things that, you know, I like in our marriage. Now, some of the things I don't like in our marriage is she works from home right now because of the COVID. So I work very early. I start work at 4 o'clock in the morning. So by 3 o'clock, I'm out of the house. So by the time I get back inside the house, pre-COVID, before COVID, Shola is gone. So she don't get back until like, I'll say 5. I get back around 2:33. So I'm in the house with myself. So I just want that loneliness 2 hours before she gets back home.
You want your space a little.
You know, I want my space. So COVID now, with COVID, she's been working from home for like 7 months straight. And when I come into, like, she's always on a conference call, so I can't really get no rest. It's like she's always talking on the phone. So the other day she went out to go do something on she took off from work, so she went out. And I came inside the house around 2 o'clock. I'm like, oh wow, Jesus, this is so beautiful, man. I miss all this. But then again, you know, reality set in, like, you know what, it's not gonna last too long, but you know, she's coming back very soon. She came out the next hour. So.
Well, you're mad. You are not the only one in that position, though. So all of us, men, we just need that space, you know. Ugo, what's yours?
Well,
first the joys,
the
then the disappointments.
Yes.
The joys of me getting married was the fact that I was getting married to a beautiful lady. that was the thing of joy to me, that, you know, I'm getting married to this beautiful lady. Like, you know, like I don't know if she mentioned it, we met online, you know. So
I know about that story. Yeah.
We met online, and when she.
Wait, how many of you met online here? Couples, let me see. Just for the singles to be encouraged. I know David and Ramonica, you met online too, right? So it works, you know.
Yeah.
Shego and Emily, you met on prayer line.
Yes, Ramonica and I met online. Hello, Cupid.
Buiwa and Oshola, how did you guys meet?
We met through a mutual friend.
Okay, mutual friend. All right, good, thank you. So go ahead.
Yeah, so we met online. Now, when she showed interest in me, you know, I was surprised. I was like, did she see the pictures? I went back looking at the pictures I posted. I tried looking at myself. I'm like, really? You know, but you know, those are the joys of it. And she's just a beautiful person. And yeah, I was just asking her, you know, based on the expectations, like did I really tell her I had expectations? And she was like, oh, yesterday, because we had our little chorus yesterday. So she was like, yeah, yesterday you spoke about expectations. I'm like, oh, really? So for me, I try to not just project any expectations on her, because the truth is, I don't think I want to be disappointed. One thing I learned growing up is, you know, when you don't have expectations, you won't be disappointed. So,
that's good.
Oh my goodness.
So I try as much as I can to even though they're there, but I try as much as I can not to project it on her. Like for me, like for us, we met you know, within a year we're married, right?
Yeah.
Oh Lord.
It was fast tracked.
Yeah, we were on the fast track and we're married. So we're still on that, you know, discovery stage and all that. But you know, sincerely speaking, it's been an interesting journey. Like next month we're gonna be 1 year. And it's been interesting.
Oh.
Congratulations.
Congrats. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
So, the reason why I wanted you to share about the expectations things, because I want, I want those who are single, who are watching us, right, to get a realistic view of marriage, understand, at these different stages. I don't want them to get unrealistic views, because a lot of singles, they've had some wrong pictures painted to them. There are some singles that it's been painted to them that marriage is bad, it's terrible, it's a necessary evil and all that. That's a wrong picture, because marriage is great and awesome. But there are some also that have had the wrong pictures painted to them, that marriage is just this, just flowing, they say, romantic, and then they talk about sex, right? Sex, many single people, when they are talking about sex, they feel that when they get married, they're going to be having sex 24/7. You know what I'm talking about? That's what they're going to be doing. And then, they get into marriage and now discover that, I'm not that obsessed about sex like I used to be obsessed about sex when I was single anymore. So my question to you is that, I don't know, is that true? I don't know. It might vary.
We're still obsessed about sex, Pastor.
Yeah, we are.
Pastor Lad, interestingly, I was with a friend today, and I was telling him about that sincerely speaking, what you said was just factual. Exactly how you put it, that was what I told him. But I'm like, but there are days I cherish my peace more than anything else.
But just let's be sincere about. Let's talk about it. I know David and Ramonica are on another level.
It's our love language.
But every other person, I don't know. Focus group. Is it true? Mr. and Mrs. Marriage Counselor, is that the reality or?
So, Pastor Land, you did our premarital counseling, and one of the things you said to us is that there will come a point in time where you're going to have to schedule.
You couldn't believe it that you have to schedule sex, like
you.
A lot of single people don't believe that you have to schedule sex. What do you mean? Put it on a schedule. They can't believe it.
Yeah. So we didn't believe you, but at some point in our marriage, we found that was true. Yeah, I've heard some people say, like, when you're in the world, like, when you're in the world, you're single, like the enemy uses the aspect of, fornicating and having sex. But when you're married, like that same enemy tries to like minimize that within the marital relationship. So that's true for some couples.
Yeah, thank you. Muiwa and Shola, are you in David camp or the West camp or the other camp?
Yeah, we did the marriage counseling too before we got married, and just like Pastor Emily said, you gotta schedule sex.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning again. I leave out. I start work at 4. By the time I get back, I go to the gym. I work out. I'm tired.
Mm-hmm. You know what's making me laugh? I saw Pastor who said post on Facebook. He said, "Thank God for schedules."
So sometimes in a week, weeks could go by and then we don't do anything because our schedule, clashes each other.
And it's not like you don't like each other, right? You like each other, right? Go ahead. Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, for us, then we now started planning it because, we wanted to, build on our family, we wanted to extend our family. So we had to stop, planning it. Like, tired or no tired, we have to do it every other day.
That's the real. You're keeping it real. We're keeping it real.
but still, it was still kind of hard to keep up.
Yeah.
I think too is like, when you're single, there's this I don't want to say singles are idle, so singles don't take this stuff away. But in singleness, sometimes you have that idle mind, right? You have more time to do other things. So I sometimes think being idle you know, you have more time to like daydream and think about, you know, sex and all those things. But once you get married and you have other things going on, it's like, I don't want to say sex is not a priority, but you have to make it a priority. Like you said, Pastor Line, you have to plan it and everything like that. Like you said, it's not like you don't like each other, you don't love each other, you're not sexually attracted to each other, but it's actually creating the space to do it, you know. And sometimes schedules just clash. Like he said, he wakes up early. Sometimes he comes, sometimes it's like late at night. I'm like, dude, I'm tired. So sometimes my preference is earlier in the morning. He's like, no, I can't because I need to go to work. So it's just about talking about what really works for the both of you, and then figuring out, you know, the best way to go about it. So.
Yeah, very, very, very real. You know, very, very real. So I mean, you know, you have, you know, all those things that they don't put into fact, like my wife and I, you know, being real. So I like it. I like it at night. You know, the reason why I like it at night, because if I do it in the morning, you know, so I do it early in the morning, it's like I like everything being like very spick span, nice and all about. So that anytime
by the bed.
Yeah, by the bedside table, you know. Anytime, you know, we are ready to go, because I said I don't want to do any work, you know, for this thing. This is not supposed to be, you know, we're being real. So I want this to be real so that these single people, they can see what is truly going on, you know, in marriage. So let's talk about this quickly. What are the challenges of marriage? You know, the challenges of marriage. I actually did premarital counseling for the three of you, apart from Ugo and Megan. So I know we talked about, you know, like sometimes it's an external party that comes that causes the problem, people that love you and all that. What are, in your own case, if you are going to talk to other married people so they can know that they are not alone, what are some of the things that you feel coming that try to cause some problems within your marriage and all that? And we all go through different ones. Yeah.
Well, in Romanica and I's case, it was a blended marriage. So I had a biological daughter. She had a biological daughter. So our thing was we're going to have a blended family, no steps, just all one family. But when you're dealing with extended families and their other just agendas, we had to protect our oneness, which is why we had oneness for honeymoon lifestyle, and not to let anything, whether it's well-meaning relatives, whether exes or whatever, come in and sabotage. So you had to make sure that we blend, and then just with teenage daughters, you know, they're going through things. So there's an adjustment period. And so that was a challenge, but we were unified, you know, in how we were going to handle those challenges and support each other. But there definitely is a blending of two different people into oneness.
Okay, thank you. Who wants to go next? The Yovos.
I think for us, the biggest challenge is that of communication, and it's premised on the fact that, you know, ethnically we're different, you know, culturally different. So yeah, it's been a really big challenge, and thank God for marriage counselors, because we actually seen a marriage counselor, and it just really helped a lot for us, and we're still growing in our communication, and that has been, I think, if there's anything that would be on our challenge list, communication will be number one, because, you know, we're different, you know, everything. Now what I think, our daughter now is 4 months. Back home, you give birth to a baby, you pierce her here. But now
you want to do Nigeria? Let's go pierce her hair. What, Megan? What did you tell him? Let me hear from you, Megan.
I said, you want to puncture our daughter's earlobes when she's an infant? I was like, she already has to get shots. Like, that's so much pain. And I like, for me being, Democratic American, whatever, I'm like, let her decide. If she wants to get earrings, then she can get earrings, but you don't have to make her get earrings.
Yeah.
Things like that, so it might sound like, it might sound like a little, like it's nothing, but, it still has its tension, there. And so for us, communication has been the huge, on our challenge list, so so if my advice now is, I tell people, if it's worth getting a marriage counselor, just go for it.
Yes, yes. And Pastor Emily is a marriage counselor, professional licensed marriage counselor. So reach out to her. All right, so let's go. Who wants to go next? Amodelis?
I would say definitely like challenges would be communication was a challenge initially. I think just having different personalities. So I am more like, I would say he's very, so we was very blunt, but I tend to be very blunt too. So we had to kind of like figure out a way to massage the way that we communicate. So obviously 2 people can't be blunt at the same time. So I really had to learn about how and when to approach certain subjects. That's, I would say, one of the biggest challenges for me. Really learning his behaviors, really learning when is the appropriate time that I should broach certain subjects. That took a while, but I've learned a lot. I would say it's that. And then also too, I was raised here. So he calls me Ajebota because, I've been raised in America, but it is what it is. But he's like conch Nigerian. So, bringing those two together was a bit of a challenge as well, because he has this mindset, like, very traditional.
Yeah.
I'm, on the other hand, I'm traditional, but I would say I'm a mix. So really trying to, merge together and come and form like maybe a middle ground between the both of us. I think that was one of the challenges as well. And then obviously too, I'm sure there'll be other challenges that come up in the future, but I would say those are the biggest things. Even though we're both Nigerian and I was raised here, he was raised in Nigeria. That really was, I would say, like I don't want to say a growing pains, but in a way,
Yeah, both different, culturally, mentally, and everything. Muiwa, what do you want to say to that?
Excuse me. She said it all. I mean, for example, like I could just walk inside the house and be like, "Hey, what's up, girl?" She doesn't like that. But I mean, she's always gonna be my girl, my baby,
That's different.
She doesn't like that,
so baby is different from girl.
Exactly.
Okay.
And I can't call her, "Hey, what's up, old lady?" Like some people do. I can't say that. So I really don't know what to say. But then again, the kind of toothpaste we use, I like Colgate. And she
There goes the toothpaste stuff.
And she like Crest. The paper towel, I like the thin one. She likes the thick one. So she gave me the toothpaste, and I gave her the toilet. So just to compromise with each other.
Oh, that's so funny. All right, David's challenges.
Tapped me to go first. I told him before we get on, if I tap you, that means you speak first.
Communication cues.
You know what? For me, I will say it goes back to expectations and thinking about one of the things that was a constant theme in our couples married group is the aspect of leadership. And someone even mentioned it within the singles discussion today. And I think what we eventually discovered is that it's not that the men are not leading, it's that we have an ideal of how the men should lead, and we want them to lead in that way. And so it was frustrating to me because I'm a morning person. I want to do, like, you know, devotions in the morning. I'm a traditional type of person. I want to do ceremonious type things for everything. I want to create traditions, and I want him to lead that effort, but that's not him. You know, he doesn't do that. And so it took a while for me to understand that concept. And I think it also helped being in a small group and knowing that I wasn't alone, that it was something that was echoed like throughout the small group. And so it helped me. And so now I'm learning to understand, you know, the way that he leads is not that it's the wrong way. It's just that's the way that he chooses to lead.
Shego.
Yeah, and that's a very powerful one right there, because I know it was kind of hammered during the single section. I want a man that's going to lead. So I just want to say we should be careful on that, because during our couples meeting last week, there's this divorce court issue we watched. Why the guy was saying, it's either my way or no way. So the woman said, no, it's not like a dictatorship. So I said, no, you have to follow my lead. So, and what she said, because at times women will have a way that I want a man that is going to lead, but we've already have our mind made up that I want him to lead in certain way. And one thing with men is, if I want to lead, and if you want me to lead in your way, men will start pulling back. And when men start pulling back, it's like, okay, have it your way. Then conflict will start. So that will lead to conflict, and that will not lead to the next one. So now, how do you deal with conflict? Which at times, for me, I hate confrontation. At times, my wife is okay, let's talk about this thing now. No, I'm not going to say anything.
That makes it worse.
It's like calling you to court. Let's talk about this thing now. Yeah.
And I'm like, no, I don't want to talk about it. Yeah. And that will lead to another issue. So it's like a preset on preset. So if we can get the communication right, at least we'll know how to deal with the conflict, how to resolve the conflict.
If my wife says, we have to talk, I start shaking. I'm like, oh Lord, what did I do? what have I done? What have I done?
Wait, yeah, I'm in the same boat. Initially, my wife said, "Oh, it's like the family time. Can we talk?" And the one, can we talk? It just kind of threw everything off. It's like, okay, so already I'm trying to kind of process every response.
When we were younger in marriage, like, let me just share this, maybe to help people. When we were younger, like I think in our first 5 years, so we decided that we're gonna start the dates, like, you know, weekly dates. So we will go for the dates, like we were choosing restaurants, different whatever. So we'll get there, and then we'll start talking. I felt like I was going through interrogation. After I told my wife, I said, you know what, these dates, you know, I feel like the CIA.
100 questions.
We have to adjust something about this stuff, you know. Just wanted to share that. Yeah. You know, we've outgrown that one, but that in those early days, I'll be like, okay, this is a date. Let's just have fun. You know, I'm the kind of spontaneous, no plan, no whatever. But my wife is very serious. So once we get there, we're talking about serious stuff and all that. By the time we're done with the date, I'm sweating.
You can't enjoy the food.
All right, thank you. Yeah, Shego, you were talking, yeah.
Yeah, so stuff like that. So I think men also, we just have to kind of understand our wife, because it took us a lot of time. It's just like we have different style, and now the conflict resolution, and the longer you take to address it, it's like the issue is not going to go away. You still have to come back and talk about it.
Okay, so because of time, let's just take this question. You know, it's multi-faceted. We'll just do it, and then we'll bring the singles on. Quickly, what are the biggest, the greatest supports that you have had for your marriage that has kept you guys together? What are some things that you feel has helped you as a couple? This will help other couples and all that. So we have made it clear right now that all couples are different. We all have different issues, communication, all kinds of different things. But the key to marriage is to keep dealing with all those things, right? Keep dealing with all those things. But you are going to need certain support. So the Yovos, they mentioned the fact that they have a counselor. It's not that they are beating each other up or doing what they are young and married, but they just feel that they want to do it right. So they actually have a professional counselor that is helping them. So, what are some things that you will say have helped you, at least to be together right now and to keep moving on in your marriage? So let's go with David and Ramonica.
Well, I'll go first. For us, having an accountability partner. When Dave and I first got married, I asked Pastor Olson, to be my accountability partner. So I love her to pieces for that. So shout out to Olson for that. Yes. And two, for us, the marriage group, it's so transparent. It's a safe place. We just lay it out on the table. We talk about real issues. And if the men aren't doing what they're supposed to do and women aren't doing what they're supposed to do, we address it. We hit it head on. So that's been a huge thing, because sometimes you can't talk to your family members about everything that's going on in your marriage. So when you have a group that you can come to and share all that, it makes you accountable for each other and each other within the group as well.
I would also agree. The marriage group, and I just give a shout out to Sagan and Emily, just creating that transparent space that, the couples, we've all grown together. So that's been a big support. But then in our home, some things, we make it intentional about communication. We don't, if there's issues, we solve it quickly. So we don't want to let them down. Sometimes my moods, she knows me. And she always says, if you can go there, you're not going to stay there. So even if I want to withdraw, she has to get depressed or something, she draws me out. So the communication, we do things fun together. Like we walk together, we exercise together. Yeah. We also have date nights. We go out to see jazz, and just, you got to have fun too, be intentional. Just make that a priority in the midst of, as Muiwa was saying, the routines. You can get into routines, and you can be tired, but sometimes you got to do something to keep that energy up. So different herbs and ginsengs, whatever you got to do, do what you got to do. But we try to have fun in addition to being serious.
Thank you, Yovos.
I just thought her to speak on her behalf.
I think that I support him with my communication skills. No. Yeah, aside from, just like we started seeing a counselor like really early on, just because we were so young in our marriage, or we were so young in our relationship when we got married. It was like, we feel peace about getting married, but we want to do this right. But also just keeping Christ at the center. I mean, like, just doing devotionals together. We also like wake up at different times, especially with the baby now. It's really hard to be consistent, but we try to do a devotional together on Saturdays and Sundays. Before baby came, we would do like a marriage thing together, like a devotional, I guess, together, and just like try to talk about things from that perspective and like with scripture. I mean, I think that was huge. Just keep him at the center.
Okay, thank you. Do you want to add something to that, Ugo? Or that's it?
Yeah, like we try as much as we can to be intentional with our devotional, and also we try as much as we can to be intentional about doing things that will just help us keep learning about each other and keep knowing each other. And like I said, we just in the span of a year, a whole lot has happened for us. We're like on the fast track. So so that we making sure whatever God put at our disposal, for us to have a successful marriage, we're taking advantage of it. We're taking advantage of marriage counselors. We're taking advantage of mentors like you, Pastor Len. You know, we're just taking advantage of, you know, as long as we see success in marriage, in the lives of people who are around us, we'll take advantage of it. We just want to learn and keep growing. So
thank you. Awesome. David?
So a lot of what everyone has said is what we've done. We were very intentional about before we got married, like the things that we wanted to be established in marriage. And so we had like our devotionals that we would do every day. So for the most part, we're consistent with that. We try to do every other month date night. We kind of fell off with that, but we got to get back on that one. Yeah, with COVID and everything.
Yeah.
Attending marriage conferences, the couples group. And we also have a mentor. It's very important to have like a seasoned mentor. You know, something Pastor Lane, you said several times before is that, you know, your wife has someone that she can report you to, and likewise. And there's no like, you know, there's no like, why did you do that? Why, like, it's both understood that this is the people that we're going to go to if, you know, accountability needs to happen. And that's what we have. We're able to do that.
Yeah.
I think it's important to be able to be accountable to somebody.
Yeah. Thank you. Shegun?
Yeah, just to kind of stress on that, I remember early this year, my wife said, I need to go and talk to our mentor. I was like, I've done something wrong. So actually I said, okay, go ahead and talk to them, because at times in marriage, your spouse might just need an outlet.
Yes.
So just hearing from them, actually that alone can alleviate a lot of conflict going on.
Yeah.
So yeah, she went to them. I just received a call. Your wife is here. I said, yeah, I know.
Yeah.
So that in itself, it's a blessing,
Complex, but still add some sugar with it. So add some encouragement. And so, and the other thing is I would say, one thing married and singles. So you said what keeps you is you still have to keep your mind pure. So you talked about, in terms of celibacy and maintaining that, even married people, because as a married man, you still get approached. Sometimes I'll get approached by single women and I got my marriage ring, and they'll think that, well, you're with somebody, you must be worth, and they're like, I say, I'm married. Well, are you happy? So you still have to maintain that purity even with marriage. And so you still have to do those things whether you're single or married, but yeah, just make it practical and have some fun too.
Thank you. Who wants to go next to answer that question quickly? One more person, and then I will let the other people answer. Shegun and Emily, do you want to answer that? How come people they are in love and everything just falls apart? How can that be avoided?
I think another thing is knowing who you are, because in marriage, at times people think, half plus half is one. So you have to be whole before you come into the marriage. And your spouse have to be whole also before they come into the marriage. Because when you are whole, and now even when you are whole, God said, leave your parent, I'm starting something new. So now you have this habit, you have this way of doing things for almost 30-something years of your life, and the same thing with your spouse, now coming together. Things you've learned in 30 years, it's not going to be over time, just like that overnight, and things being to come out. So that's why you need to know who you are, right, when you are whole. Then also, we always tell people about, there's this book about the temperament and stuff, just to know who you look at your strength, understand your spouse. Because if you don't love yourself, you cannot tell your spouse to love you the way you want to be loved. So that has to be in place also. So when you have those things in common, when you have all those things, you know your temperament, you know your spouse's temperament, then you know your strengths, you know his strengths, you know your weaknesses. Then those are the areas when you now get into marriage, because there is no perfect marriage, there's going to be conflict. And now the way you now respond to that, that's where your wholeness comes inside, the maturity comes inside, then the communication, conflict resolution. How do you respond to that? So, and the moment you're overcoming the conflict, then you're becoming stronger and stronger and stronger in your marriage. Things that infuriate you today, maybe 2-3 years into the marriage, you look back, you'll be laughing and say, why are we fighting about that? So it takes maturity and it takes wholeness. So you just have to be whole on your own before you get into the marriage, and don't have all these filthy expectations. There's going to be a place you have to meet in the middle, right? Because when we're doing the marriage counseling, we always tell couples, we put a number 6 down. You stand on opposite ends. Somebody is saying number 9, somebody is saying 6 here. You're both right, but you have at times you have to meet in the middle and see things from the other person's perspective. So if we can do that, I think then with God in the center, then at least we'll overcome. There's going to be challenges, then we'll be able to overcome those challenges and continue to go stronger in your marriage.
Thank you. Well, let me just say one thing as somebody, I mean, oldest in marriage in this place. Marriages stay together just because the couples choose to stay together. It's a choice. That is a choice. Just as you can choose to stay together, you can also choose that you're not going to be together, and you're going to have ample opportunity to do that in marriage. No matter how sweet it looks, you got married and all that, you're going to get to a point in marriage where some tough things are going to happen. But that choice, that continual choice that this commitment is permanent, is what causes lasting marriages, right? So I shared it with all of you. It was, during premarital counseling, more of you know that there was this survey that they did then to try and find out what makes marriage last. They did surveys of many couples that have lasted for a long time. Money, it wasn't any of those things. They said the reason why people stay together was the ability to resolve problems. That's the reason why they stay together. The ability to resolve problems. That doesn't sound romantic at all, but that's the real thing. The ability to say, this is what we confront right now. We're going to resolve it. We're going to find a way to resolve it. And using all the methods with God, people come into your life, study, whatever it is, that is what makes marriage last. Not romance, not any of those things. Those things they make you enjoy it. They make it, you get what I'm saying? But what makes marriage last is that determination that there's a purpose to this thing. It's a covenant between you and your spouse before God. God has a plan for this, and then we are going to stay together, work out anything that we need to work out so that God can be glorified, and His will can be done. That is the key thing that makes marriages last. So I just wanted to throw that in there. Last question, singles to married.
Yeah.
Last question.
I think I have two interesting questions, but the first one is most important, so you can ignore the second one. And that was thank you all for all you shared. Amazing. I think experiences are good, for others to hear so that they can have faith and encouragement. So thank you. You said you guys bumped on, I think it was Mr. David or so, Shagun David, that mentioned something about when I think the question goes to the women anyway, when the woman says, let's talk, or we have to talk.
Yeah.
That, I don't know why that is it's something that, I don't know whether women don't get it, or maybe it's just if a psychological impact of that process that affects men that way, and women don't understand how that is. But I remember listening to my pastor some time ago, and he hit the point very well in his own way, how he deals with it. He said one of the things he established from before they got married was, never tell me something serious in a serious way. So if you're going to tell me something serious, you tell it to me in a very unserious way. So that probably works for them. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to hear how, except maybe it's some men here who maybe experience that kind of impact. But I want to know how you women deal with it, because I don't know if that is a stumbling block, if that's a challenge. Sometimes you're not sure how to communicate something that you really need to communicate. So that is one. Number two question is, again, you don't have to answer the number two if there's no time. It's I've seen a scenario where amazing friend of mine, a lady, got married to someone, and I know the guy. The lady is is a closer friend of mine, but I know the guy. Amazing. But later, the stuff didn't work out. It didn't work out. And when I spoke with her, one of the things she told me was a dysfunctional situation. So like that was hard again, and that was weird to think about that. I don't know that you classify that as a mental health situation but a psychological dysfunction that does not make them like a narcissistic kind of behavior, you know. So how do you, so maybe Pastor Land, you help with how do you deal with it, especially after you're married and you're like, oh, there is a critical
issue,
psychological
like a man
dysfunction.
that abuses all those.
Yes, and does not see their wrong, does not. It's so, and that becomes very toxic for the woman, even though she feels she's doing her best. She can't, like, you know, prayer is not the pray and pray, you know. So how do you, you know, counselor doesn't want to go because he doesn't see himself as somebody that should. And this was not seen, this was a spiritual brother before. Before it happened. So thank you. And by the way, Pastor Lan, I like this story of that your date story. That threw me off totally. That threw me off. Your date night story threw me off.
Thank you. All right. So who wants to answer that the questions?
I'll start.
Yes.
So, for your first question about how to approach, I guess, serious subjects or a serious situation with their significant other, I feel like, number one, you have to know your significant other. You have to know their mannerisms. You have to know when is the right time. So sometimes I know there's certain series that I want to talk to Muiwa about, but I can already tell his mood. So you have to really test the temperature of that person. Maybe he had a very rigorous day. That is not the appropriate time to be talking to him about anything serious. So you really have to take the temperature of the individual or of your significant other. And then number two, I feel like there will be some situations where, unfortunately, you can't sugarcoat. You have to be blunt. Yeah. And those situations shouldn't be often, but I feel like sometimes it's warranted, and you do have to, you have to address those situations as you need to. But obviously, you need to do it with love, with care. But I think one of the main things is really knowing your partner, really knowing their mannerisms, and then testing the temperature. Maybe the temperature of the day. If they're already not having a great day, it might not be the best time to broach, unless if it's an emergency, then that's a little bit different. But I think that's one of the main things. And obviously, too, the delivery. Delivery is so important because some people, they just talk. You can't just talk. You really have to really think through how to deliver what you want to deliver. And then also, too, make it in a way where you're not imposing your personal opinion, but keeping it a little bit open so you could obtain your partner's opinion as well. I think those things really helps to open up a good dialogue between you and your partner, because then they don't feel attacked. They don't feel like, oh, you're judging me and everything like that. So that's what I would say. And that's my personal experience.
Thank you very much, Shola. Very wise. Thank you. Second question, somebody answer that, and then that will be the end. Somebody answer the second question. Success. That second question was, remind us again.
About a possible dysfunction.
Yeah. If the person has like a narcissistic or abusive and all that, that is just there.
That showed up after marriage.
After marriage, yeah.
Yeah, I I can definitely speak to that as someone who's been through an emotionally abusive situation. Honestly, I think there's, there's a point at which you have to make the decision, like, okay, how much can I take? And it's hard because, I think the emotional abuse can be so hard. Like, that's like a much blurrier. It's like so blurry sometimes to see, like, okay, it's like if you have a bruise, it's like, okay, this went too far, right?
That's physical. Yeah, if it's physical, yeah.
Yeah, but if it's like verbal or emotional, it can be so hard to tell. So, like for me, I think I got to the point where I actually I became depressed and had to go. I was aware enough to go see a counselor and kind of try to figure things out. But I finally had to set like a boundary of saying, like, listen, things have to change or I'm gonna leave. And that doesn't mean you leave the marriage per se, but I had to like physically remove myself because I was just going downhill. And in my situation, the man I was with, he decided that, like, well, I want to end the relationship. But that doesn't always happen. Sometimes a narcissistic person like feeds off of your demise.
Yeah.
So I think there is, unfortunately, I mean, God does not want divorce. God does not want, like that covenant to be broken, but he also doesn't want the other, like one of those.
Doesn't want the other person to be killed or died.
Exactly. Like, so what's like, honestly, kind of in my situation, it felt like the lesser of two evils, because I felt like I knew that if I left, like remove myself physically from the situation, that he probably would make that decision. But I was like, also, I can't live like this anymore.
Yeah.
So it's really, really hard, and I never would wish that on anyone. But I think you do have to, don't isolate yourself. Keep people around you that can support you and give you wisdom in that situation.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you very much for that honest, open, answer. Well, I want to thank every one of you. I thought this was going to take us 1 hour, 15 minutes. we have gone about 2 hours in this discussion, but I want to thank you all for your time, for your insight, for opening up yourself. I didn't give you prepared questions. People would think that you had prepared questions. No, all these things are, right now I'm asking you those questions and you guys are answering them sincerely. And a lot of conversations going on Facebook, lots, based on what you guys have been sharing since, so I want to thank you all for volunteering your time. Thank you for continuing to live, the life of Christ as singles, as married. It's not perfect. This relationship thing is one of the hardest things that you would do, but it's one of the most rewarding things that any one of us could do on the earth. So I want to encourage you all to keep at it, keep going, keep learning, keep sharing one another. And, God is going to bring out his best out of yourself.